A Crucible of Nations, The Geopolitics of the Caucasus by Lauren Goodrich and Peter Zeihan, with conclusion by George Friedman, first published by Stratfor in 2011. Stratfor is a world leader in private global intelligence, political, economic, military, and security. Synopsis. The Caucasus region historically has served as a battleground between the empires of old, with a dense population of nationalities constantly vying for leverage over one another and their imperial would-be rulers. In the modern day, three major powers, post-Soviet Russia, Islamic Iran, and Republican Turkey, are all rising to prominence at the same time, and regardless of their wishes, all are drawn to the border zone between them. A Crucible of Nations, The Geopolitics of the Caucasus. Contents. Introduction. Chapter 1, Physical Geography of the Caucasus region. Chapter 2, Religion in the Caucasus. Chapter 3, Turkey's Evolving View. Chapter 4, Iran's Preventative Strategy. Chapter 6, Russia's Unique Position. Chapter 6, The Russian Collapse. Chapter 7, The American Moment and the Caucasus Economy. Chapter 8, Russia Returns. Chapter 9, Georgia, the would-be fourth power. Chapter 10, Georgia's secessionist regions. Chapter 11, Azerbaijan, resigned to pragmatism. Chapter 12, Armenia, independence in name only. Chapter 13, Armenian-Azerbaijani disputes. Chapter 14, the Northern Caucasus. Chapter 15, the future of the Caucasus. Conclusion, a path for the United States. Introduction. In the Caucasus, three great historical empires converge: Russia, Persia, and Turkey. They are no longer empires but republics, and Persia has changed its name to Iran, while Russia called itself the Soviet Union for 7 decades. The names, ideologies, and fortunes have changed, but these three great powers have this in common. Each is part of the Caucasus region, but has greater interests outside the Caucasus region. That means that interests far away frequently drive the behavior of the three great powers in the Caucasus. For all three powers, the Caucasus is sometimes at the center of their thinking, and sometimes an afterthought. Another characteristic they share is that all three are rising powers. Turkey is shaking off 3 generations of self-imposed isolation and exploring its neighborhood. The process is awkward, painful, and plagued with mistakes and setbacks, but Ankara is tired of having its fate determined by others, and so has no choice but to continue. Iran seeks to reach into the areas near it that have been weakened by the Soviet collapse and the US wars in the Islamic world. Alone among the region's states in its relative internal and external security, Iran has many opportunities for expansion. The post-Soviet collapse is over, and Russia's twilight will not begin for another decade, producing a rising tide of Russian power throughout its periphery that seems irresistible until it recedes. The attention of all three powers shifts based on the demands of the day, but all regularly cross gazes in the Caucasus. If they do not cross swords there, it will be a rare exception to an ancient rule. There are also 3 nations entirely within the Caucasus that are much smaller and weaker than those great powers: Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. They are ancient mountain cultures that have survived because the rugged mountains provided natural barriers to invaders. During the last century, Tsarist Russia and then the Soviet Union occupied all 3 nations. The Russians changed borders, moved populations, and forced cultural changes, but were unable to suppress the Caucasus people's national self-awareness. Indeed, in odd ways, these mountain cultures fought back by giving in. The Caucasus nations played Politburo politics